How's it been? How's it been going?
Well, thank you, Javier, for inviting me here. Perfect. I cannot complain. Finally, good weather started, so pretty nice.
Yeah, how what are you thinking about doing this summer here in Geneva?
Oh, so I recently changed a job, so I'm on probation period, so I cannot travel that much, but I'm using every possible weekend and holiday to hang out with friends, visit neighboring cities, swimming a lot in the lake, and also sunbathing.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. What about after the summer? What are you thinking about doing afterwards? Oh, you're right now working at Swissquote. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. So basically, at the end of June, I finished my work at CERN and I moved to Swissquote, which is a bank and a broker in Switzerland. It's a Swiss company, as name suggests. They started for their business in early 1990s, and they were the first company to put the stock market online in Switzerland. So they were the trendsetters. Before that, everyone was reading the newspapers for that. That's how they started, and they moved to the banking and also to fintech or technology and finance. So, and as I was progressing my career, I was searching for, let's say, next opportunities next to CERN. I was quite intrigued by finance, and seeing this opportunity, definitely I could not let it go. Like I had to grab
So
it.
you're doing software engineering.
Exactly.
So
So,
what does a software engineer do in Swissquote?
great question. So,
Great question that you can answer though, or a question that we can talk about.
I can answer. I can
Okay,
answer, of
nice.
course. So, as banks are also progressing with technology and they need to keep up with technology, banks don't only hire anymore finance people. They also hire engineers, software engineers especially. Why? Because banks have their own apps now for e-trading, for e-banking, for basically tracking all your transactions, for crypto, etc., etc. Next to that, they also have if they are brokers and they have their own products for trading, they need to have algorithms for trading, algorithms for tracking the stock market, tracking the other stuff, and basically displaying the data. So Swissquote has a free app basically where you can basically check all stocks available and also their own products, etc., etc. So I would
That's
say,
nice. That's nice. So, well, we haven't really gotten into this, but tell me a little bit about how you got into Swissquote. Like, well, we met each other at CERN because you were doing some development there last year. But like, how did you end up in Swissquote? Like, what does a person from Serbia need to do to end up at a Swiss bank?
all right, that's a interesting story, I would say. So first, I will explain how my process of thinking is. I'm not from European Union, as Serbia is not in EU. So for me to actually work in Switzerland in a Swiss company or it's commercial company that's not international company is a bit harder as there are quotas, there are bigger process than for EU people. So basically, I need to prove that I'm good and better than other candidates from Europe to get a job. So it's a bit longer way than for others.
Yeah, you got to earn your way, actually.
Exactly. So that's why I appreciate it really much because I really put effort into this. So how I got into it is I was on a hackathon in EPFL University in Lausanne with my friends Giuseppe, Dan, and Carmen.
And
So
for people who don't know what a hackathon is, because if I hear hackathon for the first time, I think about a bunch of software engineers hacking, but
of
but
course.
but it's not that,
No, it's
So
not that.
can you talk a little bit about what a hackathon is,
Of course.
first of all?
So hackathon is a competition. It's something like similar to case study. Is some companies will give a challenge. Usually, it's a company giving a challenge or university. Usually, it's based in IT domains, so software engineering, AI engineering, or something similar like data science. And they give you usually 24 to 36 hours to solve a problem, and then the best solution wins a prize. So it's basically a competition that lasts for whole day or more about engineering and solving the problem. And the best solution usually is not like the most say high technology solution, the fanciest one. No, it's the solution that actually solves a problem, the simplest way.
The most practical one, I'd
Exactly.
say.
And of course, the last part of hackathon is to sell that, or not sell that, but to convince the jury that's the best solution. So you also need to have soft skills next to engineering skills to convince them that's the best solution. So your presentation skills, your negotiation skills, your skills, how to say, manage and sell stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you take an idea that you construct that moment to solve a problem that they give you that moment. You got a team, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's people that you meet there, which sometimes it's the best thing. I mean, you go there and you go to meet people and you share your ideas. And the people who win this competition are usually people that know how to sell it. They have a pitch. They have some really innovative idea that, at the end of the day, is an idea that can solve a problematic that someone, and not only in one country you can have, but in multiple countries and maybe all over the world. Exactly. So I think it's really great that you participated in this. And did you win this hackathon?
Oh yes, definitely.
Nice.
Again, I cannot say won the hackathon because there are multiple companies actually creating the challenges. There were between 6 or 8, I don't remember. One of them was Swissquote. That's how I actually met them and learned who they are. So there were 6 challenges and 6 winners, of course. And of course, there was the overall winner with most, let's say, scientific approach, which was not the solving the problem. It was more like using the science. Okay. So me and my friends went there, of course, trying to compete. And then we split it into 2 teams because we realized that we have different ideas and different goals for this hackathon. And me and Giuseppe decided to compete for Swissquote. They introduced a problem or the project, which was to extend their app or create any app or basically anything that will improve their business using LLMs or using the neural networks for language processing, for NLP.
Because everybody's looking for some AI now these days,
course,
right?
AI is the hot topic. That's right. Everyone knows that. So they wanted basically to experiment something with AI, so decided to ask fresh people with new ways of thinking instead of using the seniors in the company. So that was the challenge. It was pretty open. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. Just use AI and improve their solution. So, of course, a lot of people started using fancy algorithms, fancy ideas, but no one thought how actually that will attract their clients. They will think like, oh, this is the most advanced algorithm. I should win. But they never thought, okay, client does not need this. Client needs this or this. So what we did is we checked their app, how it looks, which colors, which design. Giuseppe, he's a great engineer. He has taste and touch for front end, for design generally, and of course, engineering parts. So
he's very aesthetic in the things that he does. So I think that's a great plus, especially when you're doing engineering, because, well, it doesn't matter if it's the best app in the world if it looks like shit.
Exactly. So that's what I want to imply is that we won because of him. He was the guy who created the design, the
Shout out to Giuseppe.
Shout out to Giuseppe, exactly. I worked most on backend, he worked most on front end, but front end is the reason why we won, because it was so smooth, looked so nice, and it was looking similar to their app, so Swissquote's app. So they were amazed by that. When we were presenting our solution, I saw they didn't care about backend. Like, we don't care about algorithms, about web scraping, etc. They care like, oh, it looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, because it sells.
Exactly.
If it looks good, it sells.
And that's their pitch. They really they hire like modern artists, modern celebrities.
Oh, nice.
They also follow and also train the influencers for finance, and also generally they are up to today's trends. So they really care about their logo, their style, and everything.
And their image.
And their image, of course. It's the most important for bank. Yeah. Image is the most important. You need to trust them. So
give me all your money.
Exactly.
Give me all your money and trust me. Like you You got to know how the game works if you want to pull that off.
Exactly.
So, we talked a little bit about Swisscode. Now let's talk a little bit about CERN.
All right. So,
Thoughts on CERN?
oh, that's a heavy question.
That's a big question. Let's start with where CERN started. Actually, for people who are watching, tomorrow I have an interview with Julie Hogan, the DPOA coordinator from CERN. DPOA means Data Preservation and Open Access.
Oh, nice.
So, well, she's in charge of creating, these workshops that teach people from all around the world how to use the data that CERN releases each year, right? And that's important because, well, you're spending billions of dollars to create data. You definitely want people all around the world to know how to use it if this data is given to the public, right? So tomorrow I'll have a conversation with her, and it's a whole story, of how I got involved with CERN. But I think we should start with, well, first of all, how did CERN even start?
All right. So
I think you know this one better than I do.
I know some parts. So basically, what we were told as employees and what you can learn from different sources is CERN started as a project to restart the science of Europe. Basically, CERN started after Second World War as scientists were either killed in the war or they escaped. They went to USA as a new scientific hub.
Yeah, it's crazy because one of the guys who was working in rockets in Nazi Germany was one of the guys that founded NASA.
Of course, yes.
So the USA was like, okay, where are the top scientists? I want them.
Exactly. So as you said, like all good scientists went to USA or to SSR. So it was who first get them, they take them.
Yeah, and actually that's where the Cold War probably
Yes,
originated, because it's like,
exactly.
okay, so I got the best scientists. Now, with my best scientists, I want to show my position. I want to show the world how dangerous I am. I want to show everybody the technology that we're developing in my countries. Okay, let's create Area 51.
Exactly.
Okay, let's create some rockets. All right, let's create some conspiracy theories so people get freaked out by my secret service or my country or whatever. And let's put a man on the moon,
Oh, yes.
So well, people might say, okay, conspiracy or not, did we actually go to the moon? It doesn't matter. People believe that we went to the moon at the time.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much what matters, what people believe at the end of the day.
Yeah. And generally in science, you don't have personal feelings. It's science. So there is no bad good guy. It's a scientist. So of course, USA, they were the best at that point. No one could compare to them, so they would take the best scientists. Second best was SSR at that point, so they took the rest of them. Yeah. So Europe was left without scientists and basically in ruins. So after around a decade, in 1950s, Europe started recovering from war, and they want to restart the scientific community, scientific hub in Europe. So they were thinking to create international scientific organization, or more like European scientific organization. So why they chose Switzerland was it was the neutral country, because you cannot choose France or Germany because one or other side will get upset.
Yeah, but for people who do not know, Switzerland was neutral throughout the Second World War, and even the First World War, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's correct.
And okay, so Switzerland has three different cultures, or three different divisions, or it's composed of three different cultures, I believe, right? It's composed by the Italian one, by the German one, and the French one. So if you take a train in Switzerland, you can start in Geneva. You start with the trains, talking in French. Then you go north, you go to Zurich, and the trains, the people, the conductors or the people talking about the next stop and whatever, the announcements, they're in German. And then you're like, okay, so I want to go down to the south again, and what's this town in the south of Switzerland?
Lugano?
Lugano or this other Italian one.
Lugano is the town, and you have Ticino as a canton.
Ticino. Okay, perfect. Ticino. And then you end up there and people are talking Italian, you know?
Yes.
So imagine being a country that was able to be neutral throughout the First and Second World War. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Having a French side and having a German
Yeah.
side. So they really did a good job.
Yeah, they pull that off, man. And it's not that they only pull it off like, okay, I'm going to be excluded from this. But afterwards, they still put it together, you know, like
Exactly.
it's amazing, really. We got the UN here, we got CERN here, we got the World Trade Organization.
World Health Organization. There is around 200 international organizations in Geneva, actually.
Really?
And that's why Geneva was picked for CERN, because it was already international city. It was a trading city. Everything would go through Geneva. So they decided to pick Geneva as the most international city at that point in Europe, and the neutral one, which was the most important. So Geneva kind of donated, as I understand, the area in Meran village outside of city. So it's basically suburbs and close to the border of France. So that's where CERN started, and as it was expanding, it went to France as a cheaper option and more fields, more empty area, because Switzerland, is, especially Geneva canton, is quite packed.
Right. And well, for people who don't know what CERN is, CERN, it's one of the most prestigious research centers of the world. And CERN has, well, people know this by the LHC mostly. And the LHC is a huge particle collider, which is around 27 kilometers in diameter, right?
No, in length.
Or in length, right?
I would add also antimatter.
They
It's
they
a
create.
hot topic for especially for conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah. Well, have you seen those videos that that they have at CERN where there's a bunch of people that, you know, they put on
Yeah,
these.
of course.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. It's a
Yeah.
legendary video that basically some interns filmed, and it
Yeah.
became a scandal, I would say.
Yeah. They were like they're opening black holes at CERN and talking with Satan or something.
Yeah, of course. People will always find
People
stories.
People be people, you know.
Now the new story is, as they opened a gateway part of CERN, that's basically like museum or area for people to visit. It's a public area, so no, not for scientists. It looks like an international space station. That's the main idea.
Yeah, the architect actually designed it that way, so it looks like
Yeah.
a spaceship just landed there, you know.
Exactly. And there are 4 antennas basically, so there is a conspiracy theory that it controls people, of course. So for me, that was funny when they opened. I saw those posts. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, but you know, like people that started making this conspiracy theory on that they're opening the portal with the videos from the summer students. I, I think it's really a shame because, well, they're doing it around a statue of Shiva, which at the end of the day, Shiva, you know, she's dancing the whole dance of chaos, the dance of the universe around. And that's actually a gift from the India.
Exactly. I mean, India, of course, would get offended by that,
Of
as
course.
they donated money and they donated that statue to CERN. So they urged to CERN to remove that video and
Yeah,
to
of course.
punish the kids, or let's say interns, that created that video.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I really appreciate about that statue, it's what it represents, you know.
Exactly.
So Shiva comes from Hinduism, right? And what it means, and it's really beautiful. It's that, you know, Shiva is dancing between the chaos and the order of the universe, and within this dance, you can really, really represent the continuous happenings of existence and not existence within matter itself, and not only matter, but you know, it also falls down into our even the deepest levels of our personality traits, you know, which is something that we can get that we can get into for hours. But at the end of the day, you know, everything that is written down in these sacred texts from fucking thousands of years ago, what do they say? It's like I exist and I don't exist, and now with um, quantum mechanics, we see that particles are existing and not existing, and their waves and their particles, and the whole universe itself. It's this whole inconsistent, continuous relocation of itself. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you really think about the universe, and Shiva is that representation. That's what I love about that statue. So it's for me, it's really a shame, but
Yeah, but I would say kids would be kids. Like they
Yeah,
didn't intend
yeah.
to offend anyone. They were just goofing around.
yeah. So going back, World War II stops.
So
Europe wants scientists to come from Europe. They create CERN, and they start creating little colliders, and then they grow and they grow and they grow, and we end up with the
Exactly.
LHC.
So they created the first collider, which is cyclocyclotron, that you can visit today, as it's the only one that's decommissioned today. It was decommissioned, I think, in early 1990s, if I'm not wrong, maybe 1980s. So that's where they started. So they want to attract scientists from whole world to come back to Europe and also to create new scientists. So CERN was the uh, good idea for that. So around 12 countries participated in creation of CERN. They were uh, let's say, all from Europe. And each country contributed either in investing or creating the parts. For example, Netherlands created the parts of the first collider in CERN, the cyclocyclotron. So that's how it started. And then as time was progressing, they started expanding, creating a new collider, because as a collider is getting bigger, they can achieve bigger or higher speed of the particles. So
And higher energies.
high energies, exactly. So ideally, they would achieve the speed of light, but as physics is never perfect, they can get close to it, but never like
Never achieve it.
exactly. So that's why they want to create the newest collider. I forgot the name. It's Future
Uh, Future Hadron Collider?
something like that.
Something like that.
Exactly. And
Well, that's a question that I will ask Julie tomorrow, because I want her thoughts on that. Because do you really think that we're going to find new physics with that collider?
well,
Do you think it's
based on
worth creating it?
from my experience from CERN, so of course I have like good thoughts and bad thoughts about CERN. I don't know, like CERN lives a lot from their popularity. So one of my, I'd say, thoughts is that they're doing that for popularity, not only for physics. But again, maybe I'm wrong. That will be proven only in future. We'll hopefully we'll see that coming. And
Yeah, I actually hope that you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I hope that you're wrong, because
I also hope as
because it's billions and
Exactly.
billions of dollars to do that.
and thousands of scientists, thousands and thousands or millions of hours of
Yeah, people
really-
that dedicate their entire lives
Exactly.
to this.
So I really also hope that I'm not, I didn't, that I'm wrong, because first of all, I work there and I contributed to CERN. So I want to know that my work and my time
Yeah,
is
well-
used in a pretty well way.
Last year, I was a summer student, and there were some people from MIT, doing these really interesting studies in CERN for this future hadron collider, Large Hadron Collider. And they said exactly the same thing that you did. They're like, it's going to do the same thing as this one does. It's bigger, there's more energy and everything, but it's discovering new physics with this. Like, I know what I'm talking about this, because I do work with CERN in the CMS collaboration.
From MIT.
Yeah, but like I try to understand the physics behind it, and I know I really know the effort that these physicists put into this. You know, it's at least in the CMS, it's 7,000 people working on this. 7,000 people from all around the world.
Oh man.
They're dedicating their lives into looking into new physics, but I mean, I gotta trust them, you know.
Yeah.
Who am I to say that, you know,
Exactly.
the Future Hadron Collider isn't gonna find anything.
How I see CERN, CERN is a, let's say, a company that provides a researcher the equipment for researching. So I don't see CERN as a research, let's say, body. CERN is a laboratory for researchers from all around the world. So they of course want to create a new equipment to attract more scientists. So it's not only that they want to achieve new physics; they want to have bigger collider to increase their popularity, to increase more attraction. So more scientists will come. The more important people would come to work at CERN. They would, and to of course you have more people.
You gotta attract investors as well.
Exactly, investors, and then you will have more products. You will have more not products, more papers,
More outcome.
outcome. Exactly. So that's why I don't see that only as a bad idea. They are doing that for popularity and not to discover new physics. They are doing a research. They creating new equipment for researchers.
Yeah, and it's interesting because at CERN, it's not like the physicists that are working there are permanent. And this is something that people don't really know. People that work at CERN, they don't stay there because, well, what I have understood, I might be wrong, is that people who go into CERN don't stay there, so the ideas don't get old. And there's always new people coming with new ideas, new initiatives, and whatever. But then we have projects inside CERN that use old technologies and that are outdated technologies, and then the doesn't matter if the person who comes into CERN, it's like this huge, really genius and innovative person. If the guy who's in charge is like, hey, we don't want to use that new technology, that we want to stick to something that we already know how to use. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. So, of course, I will give my opinion about this. So first, I will
This
start.
is a strong opinion, I think.
Very strong. Like I'm really polarized here. So first, I will give the one objective opinion as why I think it's like that. So, idea behind CERN that I think it is they want more people to pass through CERN. So they don't want like few thousand people just sticking there and for whole life. They want to allow more and more people to go through CERN. So that's why they limited the contracts. But that's also bad because you don't have seniors, you don't have mediors, you only have juniors pouring in, or let's say even seniors come, but they will be there for 5, 7, 8 years and then leave. So big projects cannot be, let's say, trusted to certain experts. But you will have the employees that are actually there indefinitely. They have indefinite contracts.
The staff, right?
The staff, yeah. Not just the staff, because staff is now 5 to 8 years, but the staff with indefinite contracts. So in the past, it was possible to stay for the indefinite contract. Today is also possible, but it's a very rare case. So what happened because of that is half of the CERN are old people with indefinite contract, and half are not more than half, like 70% are students or PhD students or young professionals. So young professionals will bring new technology, etc. But because they are not that long in CERN, they cannot put the standards in CERN, like to make them to pressure CERN to use new technologies.
Yeah, and it's crazy because okay, so you got new young people that come into CERN with their ideas and whatever, but well, the time it takes for them to adapt to the project, it might be 50% of the time that they're there.
Exactly, even more,
or
So,
even more.
Problem is that let's say, old employees of CERN. I mean, as any older person, they don't want to learn that much new stuff. They want to enjoy more like what they know. They are confident in their already huge knowledge, so they don't want to bother with new technologies, and it's hard for them to adapt. Of course, there are a lot of senior engineers, and especially the more than senior, the principals that want to adapt new technologies, but takes time. So, as you said, for me, when I started, I was very ambitious and keen to learn new stuff. And then I arrived and learned, unfortunately, that I won't use any new technology. Of course, there were some new stuff like Kubernetes. One, one I think, good example.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot of time actually to adapt to all technology, and even without actually being professionally supervised, because they don't have enough money to actually hire more people to supervise juniors. So it was more to me how I would use each technology. Of course, I would push newer stuff as much as I could. Older colleagues would be against that, but I gave my best. I pushed some new stuff. So
Yeah, but okay, so with supervisors, it's really a hit or a miss. Not only at
Exactly.
CERN, but I think all over the world, at any company, in any
Exactly.
project. So, for anybody who's still listening, it's not that CERN is a bad place because it might be depicted as talking negatively about CERN. It's nearly just a human. It's a human organization, so
Exactly.
it's faulty. Nothing is perfect, right? On my summer project that I worked in last year, I worked in Rihanna, which is reusable analysis. It's this cloud platform that helps scientists reproduce their old computational workflows. Okay, so the two guys that were my supervisors, well, they were really nice. Well, they were nice. They helped me out when I needed it. We had a whole stand up thing every single morning, and they had milestones that were actually, in accordance to my project and that were achievable. Because one thing is to have a milestone, it's like, okay, I want to implement this whole thing. And then the other thing is, I want to implement this whole thing by this date and actually be able to achieve it.
Exactly.
You really have to have experience for that. You can't just openly go for that. So in my case, I was lucky enough to have supervisors that would encourage me to look for new technologies and implement them. And with their knowledge and their expertise, I would be able to implement these new technologies even faster because they would guide me easily in things that I might have taken 3 months. And it took me 1 month because they were like, always, okay, so this is how this works. Maybe you can try this other thing. Oh, you're doing this wrong. Look at it at through another angle. And well, the philosophy that people who work there, interchanging with so many scientists throughout so many years, the staff, they really have a nice wide insight on what can actually be done in a certain amount of period with new mentalities, new minds, new cultures. Because one of the most beautiful things that CERN does, it brings together people from all around the world, from different ages, from different backgrounds, different genders, different everything, and they all come together in the sake of science. And when you're doing science, you're not looking at the other guy on what color of eyes he has or what tone of skin he has or what age. You just go into a room and you're like, okay, we both here have the same vision, and this vision is to really understand what our purpose inside the whole universe is. And that's what brought us together. This is this point of convergence in our lives. So let's make the most out of it. Let's really dedicate some solid hours to really exploring the different solutions that we can put together. So it's like a hackathon, but forever,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would see CERN as a big hackathon,
Big hackathon.
with very competitive and really
Genius minds.
genius minds. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, so that shout out to CERN. We weren't talking shit about CERN. We were just
Yeah.
looking at the pros and
I
cons.
mean, we need to grab attention. So,
yeah.
by talking about bad stuff, we grab attention.
yeah.
Now we can move to better stuff.
Yeah. All right. So CERN. Next steps. So we talked about CERN. We talked about Swiss codes. let's talk about the Singapore company. I think that's a big topic as well.
Oh, so that's I would say the most interesting experience, professional experience I had in my life. So it's a Wingfin company from Singapore. I was working there before I came to CERN, and also I was working in parallel with CERN for about a year. After after a year, we split it apart. So then I just stayed in CERN. But that was a startup from Singapore. So working in a startup comparing to CERN, CERN is a big company. Startup, only few of us. It was totally in total I think 6 of us. So it's a contrast. So first, of course, there are more emotions in startup as you know someone way closer than in a big company, and you're doing everything. So you're not a link in a chain like in a big company. You actually develop the whole product. You know every projects, all products of your company. So you're also a say important asset of your company.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what this company did? Maybe were your responsibilities within this company?
Of course. So I'll tell as much as I can.
Of
Not
course.
to break the NDA. So companies developing AI solutions for cars. I won't go to the details as
Of
I
course.
am not allowed, but they're basically following the trends in the world. That's why I really respect the investor and the owner of the company because
And you know him.
yes,
Nice.
oh, I definitely know him and
So
really
you know people.
Oh yes.
Now you know people all around the world then.
Actually, when you say like that, yes, now I have a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
globe, I would say.
Yep.
So the owner and the main investor is really great guy, and he has multiple companies, so he definitely knows what he's doing. So I don't know how he decided. Did he hire the consultants or whatever? He decided to invest into AI technology and in the car industry, especially because that is becoming a hot topic today. So he creates the Wingfin company with the help of Serbian engineer and other Singaporean manager who later became our CEO. And that's how the company started now it's a bit more than 3 years I think. So company was 6 months old when I joined, and how I found them was basically LinkedIn. Nothing special. So I didn't have any.
Well, it works.
It worked. I didn't have any
if-
connection. LinkedIn definitely worked. That was my first time actually finding a job with LinkedIn. So company, I'd say, mostly doing research because they know that they cannot compete with big companies like Tesla, BYT in China, Mercedes, BMW in Europe, etc. So they more lean towards researching into these areas and basically researching in areas where these big companies don't care much because they have a more commercial way of thinking and seeing. So
Yeah, they got bigger fish to fry, I'd say.
exactly. So that was the I would say main product. Of course, there are more smaller products about finance, about electronic industry, and they were using these small products to actually finance the biggest one. So they were not using this one. Okay, we'll earn money from them. No, they want to earn more money to finance the bigger projects. So bigger project will be the money maker in future. So they believed in us, and I would say their goal was to have some results in 5 years. So they trusted us for 5 years to not have any results, but after 5 years they want results. So I would say that's pretty nice from them. So they really didn't bother us. They really trusted us with everything.
How, how that's a big topic. Like, how do you trust a person to work for your startup company for 5 years when obviously as a startup you don't have a risk investment? Well, it's likely that you don't have money to spare because you're just starting out. So, what do you think they saw in your profile that were like, okay, let's trust this guy because he's definitely going to deliver?
Okay, so I'll give you my opinion. So
Okay.
first, it's not their first company. They have a lot of companies, I would say. So they have a budget. So of course, they don't want to waste it, but it's not like their life depends on that. So they were more relaxed in those terms. So how they trusted me is what. So they, I would say, have a my two ex-colleagues that they really trust for years and years because they worked in their previous companies. So they really have good connections. They know what they're doing. And when I applied, these two guys interviewed me, and they saw, I would say, I don't want to say potential, like to think that I don't know, someone that important, but
Yeah.
they saw that I could contribute,
But
and
you know,
they were the middleman, I would say.
I see.
They introduced me to investors, to CEO, and CEO trusted their opinion or their decision. So it's not that like they trusted me personally because they didn't know me yet, but they trusted their decision. And as time was progressing, I met the CEO, I learned the policies of company, I learned how to work in the company. And I would say the most interesting definitely project because it's really high tech, definitely the state of the art, AI, and freedom to do whatever you want, of course, contributing to the company. And again,